Even though our intuition is being hijacked or assaulted, often by a narcissist, the fact is that they are the ones training us to increase our intuition, because what they do does not match what they say. That means we naturally strive to find the meaning somehow in other signals that we're receiving so that we do know the truth.
Constantly second guessing every decision you make, or you start to feel really burnt out because you're constantly saying yes to everybody around you. Or another thing may happen is you freeze when you're around controlling people. Well, if this sounds like you, this episode is going to be fantastic for you, because that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on, as an empath, reconnecting you to your intuition so that you can start to feel that inner authority, no matter if there's a narcissist around you, so that you no longer have to people please. This is all for you to reconnect to yourself. And I have a beautiful guest to introduce you to. Her name is Yve Ruiz. She is absolutely fabulous, and she is going to help us connect to that inner authority that's already within you so that you can start to make decisions even when you're under pressure. Welcome, Yve. It's so wonderful for you to be here with us today.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
So I am just so excited to ask you this question, because as an empath, I constantly feel like I have to say yes. How do I start to create a boundary so I don't feel the need to people please constantly?
Well, may I go back just a couple steps from that moment? Thank you. Being an empath and having any experience whatsoever with people who might be more self-centered will actually grow you energetic roots and neurological roots. I usually think in both the energetic and the physical. Often it's just my psychiatrist background, so pardon me if I kind of cross the lines.
Bring it all on. Bring it on. We love it.
All right. What happens is that they groom us by their behavior to learn that to get their love, we need their approval. And so we jump through hoops to be sure we stay in their good graces. And once we start that pattern, we recognize it and we start employing it in other areas in our life, in other situations, and with other people. So this is something that you've actually been practicing if you do it for years and years. I want to say something else about empaths and their big heart, because empaths see the better in other people, and they know that they can handle very much, and they are so generous in handing out their love. They simply feel it must be part of their purpose because they are so well endowed. Shouldn't they just share it unconditionally with everyone? There's a difference between unconditional love and unboundaried love. What we find out is the reality is that the best gift we can give our loved one, selfish or not, is sovereignty over their own lives, which means not saying yes when they ask us to do something for them because they would just rather not mess with it. Sometimes people don't want to take the responsibility, don't want to be accountable for if they make mistakes. They are cheating themselves because they're not going through the path of growing and learning it themselves. They're simply passing it to whomever is willing to take it on. So when you think about this level of insight into this kind of behavior, it makes it easier to think, well, do I really love this person? Because if I do, I don't want to cheat them of that important experience that I have already gone through. I want for them to be able to walk through life knowing deep inside that they can handle anything with the right assistance, with the right mindset, and with the right energy in hand.
When did you realize that your intuition was being hijacked by people pleasing?
The first thing that comes to mind is with my parents. If they wanted me to behave a certain way, and that might include not saying certain things, they would say, they would hijack the conversation and tell me that it is not this way. And I would feel entirely wronged inside because it was so obvious to me that things were the way I was stating. But in order for them to not have to deal with it, they just shut us all down and told us that we were never to speak against them. Now, this could be something that some parents might tell their children just to keep them quiet when company comes. So it's not just one trait that would actually make a narcissist, because that narcissism, just a quick tangent, is a spectrum of behavior. Okay? A narcissist is someone who actually relies upon the habit of mistreating other people to elevate themselves in comparison and make them feel more secure. All of us have narcissistic traits, though. Some of them are really wonderful for us because they allow us to stand up for ourselves and command that raise from someone. It would allow us to think enough of ourselves to know that we are worthy to achieve this goal or to receive that prize. It's just when things get off kilter, that's when you need to really wonder what's going on with the person who is more and more over time making you feel less than, maybe not yourself. You might not feel safe to be yourself. You might start walking on eggshells because your intuition is being hijacked. You're wondering, if I can't even listen to my deepest inner sense, then what is all this worth? I must follow someone else.
What happens in an empath's body when they face pressure from a narcissist?
I will first talk about the empath aspect. An empath is able to join consciousness with others so that whatever the other person is experiencing feels as if it's happening to them, to themselves, correct? So when they are feeling not only the energy of the narcissist before them, but this more forceful energy in the behavior he's expressing toward the empath may even be overwhelmed with the incoming signals, okay? When this happens, this person can do a number of things. We talk about, and this jumps into the psychiatry, right? The flight or freeze. A person might want to just run away inside because they feel this energetic invasion of all this anger or discomfort or whatever that negative pressure is about, right? Because if an empath or anyone is not following along with what a narcissist wants, the narcissist becomes vindictive and wants to punish the other person. So they will often turn to guilting and shaming the other person. So in addition to the energetic level of response, there's also an emotional response, because we as empaths are so invested in making sure someone else feels comfortable, we suddenly feel guilt and responsibility for the entire other person. Our boundaries just fall flat on the floor. Another thing that happens on the physiological level is all the physical symptoms or signs that you would find with someone who is suddenly anxious, who wants to change a situation. And I will break this down. We're talking about increase in heart rate, faster, more shallow breathing. We know that one body is made of many parts. One little change is going to affect the rest of the body. So as someone starts to breathe faster, they're changing the whole pH in their system, which means their body is going to jump in to try to correct, so that when it's course corrected, we're back to normal. So basically, a lot is activated on a number of levels when someone is like this. And if a person has actually experienced this more than in the level that we were talking about, someone applying verbal pressure, they will, in other words, if there's been some kind of physical interaction that is negative, that type of pressure, they may activate, the triggers may be hit. So they may be feeling sensations from other times that they were hijacked, so to speak.
Like maybe in their childhood.
Or even with the same person that they're dealing with at that moment in prior weeks.
So if I'm an empath, and let's just say I'm being triggered by a narcissist that I'm dealing with, what's one thing that I can start to do to kind of reconnect to myself, realign, kind of create a boundary so that I don't feel like all this shame, all this guilt, feeling all of their emotions? What are some tips and tricks?
What I like to do is to stop, take half a second, because it doesn't even take long, to say, okay, what is this? What am I feeling now? Is it really mine? And then what I personally do is I call upon Archangel Michael to place a shield around me of protection. And this carries a visual element for me, which insulates me energetically as well. I imagine as he vibrates around that blue hue, it's almost like the cellophane of blue layer around an Easter basket. That energetic glow wrapping around me like a large egg from below my feet all the way up to above my head. And once it's there, if it ever needs reinforcement, I then imagine a zipper. I start it visually at the top of my head, and I seal it as it works its way all the way down below me and all the way up my back. This is really more to refocus my own attention and energy on the fact that indeed I am always whole and I am always protected. I don't have to yield. I don't have to throw down that gate and let others pounce all over me.
It's beautiful, and that's so important. Even just you saying that automatically reminds you that you are so empowered, right?
Yes.
And I can take their energy out, even if it's triggering me, even if I'm feeling all this shame and guilt, again, if it's not mine, release it so that I can feel better in the moment.
Exactly. A phrase I say to a lot of people in a more mainstream example is that we are the CEO of our soul. So we live up at the penthouse. We're in charge where the brain is, where the upper chakras are in connection with divine. And we come down to the level of the security officer who might be at the level of fear because he has seen an alarm go off. The fact is that just because the security guard is sounding an alarm does not mean that there is danger. It only means that the security noticed a change. Something is different. So as a CEO, I am in charge of knowing more information than the security guard who's just walking his laps and checking different posts. And I may know that so-and-so may have come in to the building and disrupted something. That could be a possibility. But more often, the CEO has decided to do something important, new, novel, and that change is what set the security guard off. So you as the CEO can tell the security guard, thank you so much for doing your job, my friend. Okay? So you can thank those lower vibrations that you might experience because we have been bestowed with them to help us out. And then we simply explain to them, you see, it's going off because I made this wonderful decision that is going to have long-term these much better effects for all of us here. So, thank you for doing your job. You are dismissed. You may go back as you were and continue looking for things like this. And you can bring them to me every single time and I'll handle them because I'm in charge of all.
Yes. Now, one thing I find is a lot of empaths attract narcissist partners. And as much as they try to do the work, right, they're constantly with that same partner that's either crossing their boundaries or taking advantage of them, whatever that pattern is. What would you say to an empath that's trying to change this program to help them attract somebody that's more on their level?
Oh, this is beautiful. Focus on yourself first. An empath is used to putting other people first. And when they've gotten deeper into that groove, it takes longer and more practice to get yourself out of it. So the most important thing is, if they have parted from someone and they're between relationships, to leave things be in the romance realm and to allow themselves to focus on putting themselves first, so that they can, with practice and time, get used to expressing themselves without guilt, without apology, and owning who they really are, and feeling safe being authentic about themselves. And as they do all of these new habits and they get to feel more accustomed to them, then there are two things that have happened. One is that they've raised their vibration. And so like vibration attracts like. So they have raised their vibration so that they may magnetize a more appropriate partner. And the other thing is they have grown boundaries. And when they have grown boundaries, they will stand their ground unapologetically more.
That's amazing. Can you give us some tips on practicing what those boundaries may look like? Because I think sometimes as an empath, we feel like we know boundaries, or do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. Well, one of the things that naturally comes to us, and every time it does, we can consider that practice. Okay, we can take that opportunity, just jump on it. If someone is saying something to us and we're going along with the flow, and then suddenly the energy just stops. There's like a jerk in the flow.
Yeah.
Okay? As soon as you feel that quiver, tune into it. Pay attention to it. Because this is your inner knowledge, your intuition, saying something's wrong. Okay? When you pay attention to that, what you're doing is you're returning the focus back to you. And know that whatever you do, any action or thought of yours that follows, should be in service of returning to your flow. So once this intrusion of the energy occurs, know that you are, in this case, the queen of your kingdom. It is not only your responsibility, it is your right, and it is inborn natively to you to protect your interests, protect your realm.
How do you teach empaths that saying no to a narcissist is actually self-respect?
It's difficult to teach someone who has been downgrading their self-respect what self-respect is for them, because they have been conditioned to think it's selfishness.
Yes.
So the best way is to get to the root of the issue, right? They are so used to putting themselves on a shelf and taking their energy and placing it on the other side of that boundary, the fence between them and the other person, that losing their energy and becoming drained chronically becomes their new norm.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of awakening them to exactly what is going on. When their soul is ready to take that in, they will. What they can do is put themselves in the other person's place, but in a different way, and I'll explain. Because they are willing to do so much for the other person. Imagine if they were that person, or if that person were them, how would they treat themselves if that other person were them? Okay? And another thing we can do is for those who have children, you can put that, for instance, if what you're doing now, if you were witnessing that with your daughter and another man, what would you say to her? How do you see those actions when they are on someone else? Because usually it becomes very clear.
Yeah. what was interesting, even when you said as an empath, you know, we give away our energy. We're second class. It started making me angry. Right?
Good.
I'm just like,
And it
wait, why are you
should.
giving away your energy. Wait, why don't you think you're allowed to have a boundary? Like, that makes me so angry. But we've all been in that situation where we feel that, like, let me bow down to everybody around, and you're offering your energy just like like you're a hot potato. Like, I can't hold my own space. I need to give everybody all my love and all my energy, because if I'm contained or I have a boundary, I'm selfish.
Right.
Or people think that I'm angry. Right? If you come in a culture where everybody's energy is open and you have a boundary, people assume that you're upset or you're cold.
Right.
So then you have this other label that you're putting on yourself, where if I have a boundary, then I'm a bad person. Or
Right. You're being mean.
I'm being mean, right? Like, why are you being so mean? I can't read you, or I'm not able to feed off of you. So it's really going back, and it's like, what are all these little programs or beliefs about myself that I'm still holding on to that are keeping me trapped in feeling all that lower frequency?
That's right. That's right. You just reminded me of the situation where, say in the workplace, your coworkers are shunting the work to you because they know how complacent you are and you want to be liked, you want to please others. You know, those habits started at home and now they go into every facet of their lives, right? So when you encourage an empath like this to say no to a coworker, they can say something like this: I appreciate that you do have a need, and because I am a person who does quality work and I take on a lot, I must say, to be honest and to give you the opportunity to have the best quality work possible on that, I must say that I am sorry, but I already have enough to be dealing with at this time. I would not do you a service. It would be a disservice if I were to take this on, because I'm already so laden.
That's such great advice. It's so funny. Again, even though just hearing you say that, I automatically have this feeling of, ooh, you're going to get in trouble. Like, it's like a little kid, like, oh, you're going to say no. And as much as I want to be like the tough guy, like, yeah, I'm going to say no, or I have boundaries, I could feel the heat of everything that you're saying. Like, they're not going to like me. Everybody's going to be talking about me. I'm going to be left out. And it's funny how I think nowadays the pain of that used to be so heavy isn't as powerful over kids today. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, they're a little bit more comfortable with boundaries. They're okay saying no. They have so much more freedom. And I have such respect for
That's
that.
very true.
Right? But I can feel the old parts just coming up, and I'm like, okay, breathe. So that's great advice. If a person is frozen in their own fear, what's one tip that you would give them to help them get out of that? Like, it's like they're overwhelmed, they're feeling stuck, they can't move on in life. What's something?
That's a great question. I guess because there's something in my head, I should just say it instead of try to find something else. This is not the psychiatrist in me answering.
Yes.
That's why I was
like,
feeling ambivalent.
Not me. This is the healer part speaking right now.
Exactly. What has gotten me through many fearful experiences where I might feel paralyzed is knowing that I have someone or something greater than me that I can lean into. I was raised Christian, so it was angels and God. So whenever I would freeze, I learned that if I just called upon an angel, then I would feel their warmth, just engulf, bathe me in their warm light and love. And then I would feel free and facile to move again. And I would feel that someone's got my back while I do it. So even if we don't feel in touch with our wherewithal to handle those things, as long as we can summon our loved ones or others, we can feel them energetically.
So I mentioned trusting our intuition. How do we start to do that when we have all of this self-doubt within us?
Yeah. This is a great one. Even though our intuition is being hijacked or assaulted often by a narcissist, the fact is that they are the ones training us to increase our intuition, because what they do does not match what they say. That means we naturally strive to find the meaning somehow in other signals that we're receiving so that we do know the truth. We learn that when we feel a certain way inside, a certain thing may happen, or the other person might be in a certain kind of mood, or be fixing up for a negative episode, shall we say.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because even as we are conditioned to think that we are weaker, we are indeed becoming stronger. It's just that we are ignoring our strength because we are being told we are weak. When someone is going through these problems, it's important for them to have a confidant or find a confidant who is preferably not within either family, but is someone else who can be more objective. Preferably someone who is somewhat familiar with this topic, because for all the wonderful, beautiful-hearted people who have not experienced a toxic type of narcissism, they will not understand. Why? Because a narcissist works from a different paradigm than the mainstream population. Their paradigm is all about pleasing and taking care of themselves instead of fairness and communication and sharing. So when we try to, say, apply our sandbox rules to his behavior, it never matches up. So the advice that's given, oh, just explain it more. Just, do this more. Just keep on, like you say, giving. No, that's not where to go.
It's not going to work.
That's right. Someone who is very selfish wants that other person to be all for them and there all the time, only with them. It's important to be keeping contacts with others, have a depth and breadth of social contacts, so that for this need, or to talk over something, or to be able to just do something and feel free and not feel underneath your partner's thumb, you have that opportunity. You have that access. You have access to sanity. When things start to get worse over time beyond the usual social contacts, find an expert.
Okay.
And without getting too detailed here, if you're going to go for a counselor, be sure that whether they are a spiritual counselor or a psychological counselor, that they haven't just dealt with a few of these kinds of situations, but at least half their practice is narcissistic relationships. Because, again, we are trained as therapists in Western medicine to follow along a certain paradigm, whereby people are equal, and so if this works for this person, then it should work for the other. But that's not how it is in a narcissistic relationship. We must acknowledge that one of the two people is going along a different paradigm, one that is riddled with insecurities, with vengeance, with not being able to handle the negativity in their life, and so they spew it out to others to lighten their load. And we all know, who are listening to this, that that is not what it's about. It just is for them.
How do I know I'm facing a narcissist if I've never really experienced any of these signs or symbols in a relationship?
I love that you mentioned this, because I actually have written a long list about this, and it's going to be made available to them. There are tells, and some of them are more obvious, and a lot of them are more subtle. So it is important to learn these kinds of things. And the reason I'm so happy you asked this question is because I have different arms of my big vision to be helping people in this realm about narcissism. And one of them is I want to get it into the schools. I want, when children are still young, to understand these signs and recognize them sooner so that they'll know what's really going on and avoid the potholes by just veering in a slightly different direction. And this applies not only to the children, but for all of us who have grown older without knowing these signs. What I could not get over when I first found out that I was in a narcissistic relationship was the fact that I was so educated. I had graduated from college, gone through medical school. I had done family practice residency and then psychiatry residency. You would think that it would be so obvious to a psychiatrist. But the thing was, while we were given the textbook signs, we were not given what it really looks like in the trenches. You know, the thing they say about doctors and nurses, the nurses are working in the trenches, so they'll have a more visceral knowledge of these types of things than a doctor, right? And this is what I came to experience in real life, at home. Some of these things can show up in the very beginning, as soon as you meet someone. And the ideal situation to notice this one is, say you're single and you're at a bar or in any other watering hole, right? And someone starts talking to you, and you notice that as you are talking about yourself, which they're really good at getting you to do, they are overly endorsing everything that you are saying about yourself and your experiences. They're saying, oh my gosh, you took Japanese, or you hiked this mountain, or you did this or the other. So did I. I just think it's marvelous, don't you, when we do this, this, and this. They want to, their first goal when you first meet them is to get you artificially and immediately comfortable with them. So what they'll do is love bomb you. They'll make you think that they feel you're the best thing since sliced bread. I need to come up with a newer way to say that.
No, that's perfect. Because I've seen people do that before, but I wouldn't think that that was their plan, right?
Exactly.
So then once they do that, they're just like, oh my gosh, we're compatible. I love that we do this. Then what's their next step?
Then what they might do is actually use the phrase, I love you, way too soon. Maybe after even a week. And while the spiritual side of me knows that, well, I love everyone.
Yes.
In church, I was hearing that the Greeks have so many kinds of love. And so I am aware that I may have a certain communal kind of love or societal type of love.
Like, I love you.
Exactly.
Cool.
But it's not the same as that intimate partner type of love. But because the narcissist is feigning that intimacy, it's not real, it's forced, it's contrived. When you start to feel like, you know, this is like awfully fast, it's fast and furious, instead of believing, oh my gosh, this must be the real thing because, you know, I'm being swept off my feet and it's a whirlwind. It's exactly those elements that you need to be watching out for.
Now, are they doing that on purpose, or is that their subconscious? Is there a need for them to connect, and is there a need for them to think that you love them so that...
This is a great question, because the next thing that a non-narcissist, especially an empath, will think is, oh, I bet he's not even aware he's doing that. He's just caught up in the... And we'll start automatically explaining away things for them.
Right.
Okay?
He doesn't get it. He doesn't know.
Exactly.
But...
Exactly. And so for a person who starts taking on the responsibility of explaining for someone else, that's a huge red flag. So if we find ourselves in a situation where we're just coming up with all the reasons without even asking them or letting them talk for why they're doing this or that and why things are different, don't go down that road. It's the wrong one. They cultivate every step they take. They're highly aware because their motive is to get you ultimately wrapped around their finger, feeling weaker, dumber, and less capable over time, so that you depend so much on them that you feel like nothing without them and they have you for life. To abuse, misuse.
All of a sudden I'm like, so what is a healthy relationship? Because maybe there is somebody that has a bright heart and they're like, wait, I'm not a narcissist, but I do just have this big heart. Like, what's a way to maybe tell the difference between somebody just being in awe of you that's authentic? Is there a way to tell that's slightly different than the narcissist manipulation?
Yeah. Of course, there are going to be times we meet people and we'll have some things in common, right? The thing is that as we meet up with them, we will notice with healthy people that they apologize if they misstep. They will ask you questions that aren't just about trying to learn every single thing about you so that they can use that material against you at an opportune moment for them to get their way with you.
Yeah.
You will find people who are free of those kinds of motives and also free of a tendency to want to shame you, belittle you, or intimidate you when you're not agreeing with them. With a healthy couple of best friends or other partners, it's okay. We accept that you don't eat hamburgers or I don't eat salad.
Right.
Because it's just preference. It's just who you are and who I am. A narcissist does not accept a person for themselves. They see them as something moldable for their own purposes.
That's a really good point.
So when you start noticing this pattern of every time when you speak out for yourself and it's veering from their values and they start behaving negatively toward you, that's a huge red flag. And if it's not happening, then you're probably on the right one, on the right path toward a really healthy and satisfying relationship.
Do you find narcissists maybe tap into a particular chakra within you? Do you feel like maybe they go in for the solar plexus and try to control you that way? So a simple sign for you may be like, oh, when I'm around them, I feel tension in my belly, or maybe even your throat because you're speaking your truth and your purpose. So does your body start to feel split? Something like that. Like,
I love what you're bringing up. This is that intuitive response, and you can feel it viscerally with a person. Now, I can't say that when I have blended energy with narcissists that I've ever heard them say, I'm going to go for the solar plexus chakra. However, that is what they are doing, in that what they want to do is they want to confuse you and control you. So as they control you, they are lording their power over you. And in order to do that, they need to make you feel like you are in the wrong. And that's exactly where you feel it when they give that type of energy to you. The solar plexus chakra is the one that takes the hits when you have someone giving you a sharp look, a sharp word, someone cuts you off on the freeway, or someone is treating you unfairly, intentionally.
so if I get that hit, say I'm with somebody,
Yes.
what would you recommend for me to do to kind of help me disconnect from them? Like take their power away from this chakra?
Good idea. When you start feeling this, consider that an invasion, like war. They have violated your kingdom's boundary and they are having at you. And you, remember, you are in charge and you will have none of that. So you can pause and redirect them and say, this is not the right way for us to go about this. I am perfectly happy discussing these things with you once you are able to respect me when you do it.
Amazing. I think this episode is very important for a lot of empaths out there and anybody that's just sensitive in their energy field, because this happens all the time. And those boundaries are so important.
Yes. It's just so important for empaths to remember to embody their own power within themselves whenever anything like this happens, so that they don't find themselves just letting down the gates and letting hell break loose. Because they are the ones who control it.
Yes.
They needn't throw their control away to the person who's doing untoward things.
Well, guys, I hope this episode has helped you tap into your boundaries, your inner strength, so other people can't take advantage of you anymore. Until next time, keep tapping in.
If you want more, please join our community at marisagrieko.com.